Dr. Margo, you've been up to a lot, right, since we've last had you on.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, Robbie, that I've actually had inquiries from some of my customers, to say, when are you on the radio again? Because, I think people have missed hearing some positive news, and I think it's so important at the moment because I'm running my medical clinics, my Dr. Margo, as an advanced nurse practitioner, I'm running my clinics over in the Clinical Denta La Plaza across from BayRadio.
Yeah, I've seen you across the street there.
And we're busy with people with all sorts of ailments, but we're helping people we're recommending CBD to people who have got anxiety.
Right. There's been people that have seen you. Upon seeing you, 10 minutes later, they're here buying CBD, and we couldn't ask for anything more. It's been an awesome relationship.
It's a mutually beneficial, because to be honest, Robbie and Dougie, all of us are heartfelt people, and we really care about other people. Mm-hmm. And the thing about coronavirus, it's still going on, and I think a lot of people had hoped that there would be some let up, in the new year. Something would miraculously change and we would all be let off the hook.
It's just another day.
And it's actually getting even more restrictive, with all the... And the biggest thing, and, what you've also found this as well, Robbie, is that one of the biggest mental health issues in the UK is now anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
It's number one.
Yeah, I've read... I had to do a blog post. I'm sure you've seen it too. It's mainly affects women.
Yep. Six times more likely
to develop anxiety, which could lead to depression. And those two, depression, anxiety, they're in a war for the top spot, but both of them are troubling. Yeah. And you hear it all over the radio, on the TV, these suicide prevention lines, these help lines.
And what upsets me, Robbie, is that, I know that coronavirus is a terrible thing and a lot of people have been affected and a lot of people have had family members very unwell or even died in really, really, really tragic circumstances. But unfortunately, the lack of access to doctors and medical appointments for normal illnesses like heart disease or hypertension and depression and anxiety, these invisible ailments that people have, there's a lot of collateral damage and people are really struggling and they've got nobody to talk to. So that's where I feel we come in terms of CBD helping anxiety. It helps depression. There's been several studies to show that it can help, and our clients are giving us very good testimonials to say that once they've been on it for at least a fortnight, that their symptoms are diminishing. But it's kind of a cocktail because, as you know, Robbie, I'm totally involved in holistic healing and mental health is one of my really big interests. So I have actually helped some of my clients alongside CBD to have some psychotherapy with me because I have a very effective program which has helped people within a very short space of time to feel better, just to understand that their thoughts aren't real and that they don't need to worry about everything they hear in the media. I think people are really getting carried away and it's creating panic. And of course, as I've said several times before, if you do get frightened, then your immune system is immediately diminished. So you're putting yourself more at risk of actually getting sick.
It causes with the stress, I know it produces cortisol, and there's other types of health-related issues from just stress alone. And
totally.
Stress could come from anxiety, depression, and all that. And I know I've been stressed in my life when I was going through school, transitioning. LA, where I'm from, very expensive. I didn't know how I was going to balance everything, and I felt like I was, in my 70s, in my 20s, because I was just pushing so hard, and I had set the bar too high to be realistic. But I just didn't think there was anybody I could relate to at that time. And it turned out the more I talked to people, the more I related to just a lot of people. A lot of people were going through the same thing, and that made me feel better. Yeah,
because lots of people don't talk, and this is the thing, and I think men are quite guilty of that. They don't tend to share their feelings too much. And as you've just said, Robbie, it's unsustainable for you. You would have died, unless you had changed your lifestyle or your thinking or your worries.
It's true.
It really affects your health long term.
Well, I do know this. People would talk to me. They'd speak to me. It didn't matter if I was ordering food somewhere or a close friend or somebody, and the information would enter my mind and I couldn't speak because I was just so preoccupied with worry and anxiety. Yeah. And it was like chasing the boogeyman under your bed. I know. Just, it's not even there.
You don't even see a solution to it. Exactly. You don't see a solution. Well, can I just briefly talk about how CBD actually works in terms of depression and anxiety? Well, we have obviously our brains, and we have a part of our brain called the hypothalamus in the center here. And in the middle of this, we have something called the amygdala, or some people might have heard of the limbic system. And it's where our emotions live. And it's where joy lives. It's where our natural joyful state as a baby. You'll see babies and dogs, and they're just pure joy, right? Mm-hmm. They've not been polluted by thought. And that's where we all, as human beings, really want to try and get back to. But what happens is we get things happening, we get people telling us things we don't want to hear, or we have something like coronavirus coming into our lives, and then we replace that joy with fear, with trauma. And pain and the negative emotions override any form of positive, and you can't feel joy at the same time as fear, right? So the fear is, like you said, it just takes over. Mm-hmm. And what happens is your body has physiological responses to these emotions. So you would normally, if you feel happy, you would release a hormone, a neurotransmitter called serotonin. It's called the happy hormone. And basically what happens is, in the natural state of affairs, this gets mopped up, it gets taken up again. Mm-hmm. All right? And if you go to your doctor and you ask for antidepressants, or your doctor suggests antidepressants, you're using a chemical, like a pharmaceutical solution to the problem. Mm-hmm. And basically these drugs, they're called serotonin uptake inhibitors, like Prozac and various Zoloft, yeah. And they're only available on prescription. And they basically are supposed to stop the serotonin from getting mopped up so that you feel happier for longer. Now, in our bodies, we have thousands and thousands of endocannabinoid receptors, which is a natural system that we inherited, and it's thousands of years old. And we produce natural cannabinoids like CBD, but CBD we extract from the hemp plant. So a lot of scientific studies have suggested that a lot of ailments are caused by a deficiency in our own endogenous endocannabinoids. So CBD is an external source of getting them back up again. And if we just take CBD once a day or twice a day, then that acts as if we've got our own natural cannabinoids, and these they link up with the receptors of our own endocannabinoid system, and they're more effective than Prozac and all these pharmaceuticals at stopping the serotonin from being uptaken again.
I see.
So the serotonin stays longer in our system, and we feel happier and less depressed, and we feel calmer. And then our amygdala starts to remember that it was actually designed to be happy and not sad and frightened.
Well, yeah, it's just back home where I'm from, there's a big, massive drug problem. People are on heroin, methamphetamine, but beneath all of that, there's this pharmaceutical drug problem. There's like Xanax, and usually you'll find a person who gets hooked on Xanax, and then they get hooked on heroin, and they bounce between the two, and it's just a vicious cycle, and it brings their life down until they get massive help, or have somebody listen and sit and speak with them, and know that they need somebody to show them that they care. It doesn't matter who they've become. They'll always sit there and listen to them and want to love them.
Yeah, totally.
But this Xanax, it's totally habit forming. It's completely addictive. Yeah. Right.
I've seen a lot of pharmaceutical drugs are habit forming, but sadly.
Yeah, and it's just it's really alarming. Heroin and all that takes the center stage in the U.S. But this pharmaceutical push of antidepressants, and you would think, like, okay, maybe it's just a couple people are on it. They have a tough life to juggle. A couple kids maybe have been divorced, whatnot. But it's almost turning into everybody. It's
a bit like the statins. Nearly everybody's on statins now, and you wonder why they don't all have really bad cholesterol. So I think it just like GPs sometimes they just in the UK. I'm not talking about Spain because I'm not involved with the Spanish doctor system here, but a lot of the pharmaceutical drugs, sadly, they're just given out like sweeties, and you need to get off these because you can heal yourself naturally.
Well, I was going to get to that too. Yeah. It's just coincidence, kind of, that CBD has its largest following in the U.S., where the most antidepressants are prescribed.
Interesting.
And it's just people. Something about the life structure there. It's very stressful, very competitive. It's just something I've never experienced anywhere else yet, but it's just amazing that CBD has grown so big that it's being marketed to almost people under 18 years old. Mm-hmm. It's almost like getting them prepped for this stressful life that's going to come up.
Right.
And it's just amazing. But I'm happy to see that people are transitioning away from the pharmaceuticals and taking their own mindfulness and wellness in their own hands and trying CBD and finding great results. I was really inspired by that.
Yep.
Like we spoke about the UK with the anxiety and depression being the number one mental health issues.
Well, I know amongst the expat community here, in locally around here, that is a big factor. I see several people who have got anxiety and depression problems. Mm-hmm. So CBD is a great start, and then some psychotherapy, with myself would be a second follow up.
Well, for me, what I've found most effective with CBD, because I have anxiety, like we spoke about. After starting CBD years ago, it allowed me to at least face the issues and see how big they were.
Yeah.
And then there's always work behind anything if you're going to grow.
Yeah.
So I was at least able to face them, take a deep breath, and step into each section and start the work.
Yeah. But also, Robbie, did you not find that some of the things that you were worried about didn't actually exist? You were thinking about what if instead of what is.
Yeah, definitely. That's a huge one right there. It's funny that, you go through school, high school, college, university, and nobody, unless you take a psychology class, nobody teaches you about these things and how to manage that.
Yeah.
Parents not all parents have the ability or the urge to want to teach their kid about, hey, relax, take a breath.
You see, the parents are lost a lot of the times, and I wish I knew a long time ago what I know now, because most parents, I would say the majority of parents, unless you're very, very, very lucky, don't really know how the body works, how the mind works, how to just chill and connect to your own energy. We don't remember that. I didn't learn that. I didn't relearn that until I was in my 40s, and by which time I'd had my 3 children, and I just wish I could go and start again and have them again and just be this happy, chilled mother, but all we can really do is just do what we can in this moment in time. We can't change the past, and I think people create a lot of grief and trauma for themselves by dwelling on the past all the time. And I see clients who have got terrible guilt and shame, and it's like, well, it's not actually that bad when you really look back at it, but you can't change it. So what can we do now? We have to think positive. And also, I think with CBD and also just a bit of somebody, like you said, Robbie, somebody to listen and somebody to love. This is what all human beings actually need, is love and an ear, somebody that actually cares, And then people realise that what they're worrying about isn't actually as bad as it. And there's solutions come to you from within. The solutions to everything you're worried about is already there. And the solutions to everything out there in the world with COVID and climate change, the solutions are already there. But I think the governments are not quite aware enough to see the solutions yet. That's all that's wrong. We just have to get our thinking together,
Definitely. No, an example, we had a customer email in asking about, how would CBD help her? She's always worried is that she's in the UK. So I managed to reach out to her over the phone, and she was just relieved that somebody would talk to her.
Yeah.
And then I shared my stories with her, and we could relate on a really nice level. We ended up speaking for almost an hour and a half.
Wow.
And it felt really good for both of us at the end. This was a lady so stressed that she ended up ordering CBD, but she was so stressed she didn't know where her purse was.
Oh, my goodness.
And then she couldn't find her card in the purse, so she dumped her purse on the floor. I'm on the phone while this is happening. And she's then worried about the dog stealing everything out of the purse.
Oh, wow.
Right? And this is a combination of anxiety, the current global situation, it's being locked down, and other external factors in her life, but it just all compounds itself.
Yeah, because it was just sort of spiraling out out of control with her, really.
And we don't sometimes realize that that's happening until somebody nudges you, and that's where that little bit of love, compassion, all of that comes in and plays a huge factor. It's just
and to be honest, Robbie, we were talking, Dougie, earlier about somebody I know in Scotland who actually committed suicide in her 40s because her business that she had built up as a chauffeur with all the golfers, it just literally died, and she was a single parent, and she just literally couldn't see a way out. And I'm like, and my friend who told me this story said, you've never met a more jovial, cheerful person. So there's always a facade. I think a lot of people that are really depressed or anxious, they put up a facade, and you would never know. You would never know that they were going through a hard time, and I think we need to just be aware, just show love and compassion to everyone so that they can feel that they can talk to us, because you can help everybody. All of us can help in the slightest way just by caring, about somebody else.
Absolutely.
We've spoken before about some certain reading, haven't we? Michael Neill's book, The Inside Out Revolution.
That's right. That's right. And that's where
great book.
That's right. And he was totally struck by Sydney Banks' The Three Principles, which is what he literally. That's all he talks about now. And in fact, I saw him on Mind Valley the other day. He's doing a course through Mind Valley, but that's the psychotherapy method that I actually use, Dougie. And it's simple, and it's just showing people the truth about our thinking.
You just reminded me, Sydney Banks.
That's it.
There's a couple of books I do need to order of his.
Well, if you guys, I've got a whole library of his books here with me, and I also wanted to say, Dougie, I did an interview with Ian Bennett. Don't mention the C word. I did it on the 30th of November. So that was St Andrew's Day, I've just realised. And I did talk about immunotherapy for people with cancer. And I know, Robbie, you've mentioned a couple of people that are affected right now. When I did that talk, now I know it's in the archive, but I can send it to anybody, the link for that talk. I've got it on my website. And also, I did a fact sheet for people that anybody that's interested to learn about immunotherapy or treatment for cancer. I've done a fact sheet, and if you email me at is it Dr. Margo at pureorganiccbd.com, I'm more than happy to send you guys my information sheet. And the other thing I wanted to just mention is I'm in the process of creating an immune boosting anti-COVID super booster program, like a nutritional program to help people who don't want to get coronavirus, or they're just, if you're frightened, for instance. And it's all natural stuff, and I've written sort of fact sheets and little bits of advice, as well as recommending what people can take. And I'm not finished it yet, but if you guys want to be on my waiting list to get that, please email me again at drmargo@pureorganiccbd.com.
That's correct. Yeah, and then any other, as we're speaking today about anxiety, you can always, if you don't have somebody you can talk to, or a lot of us don't open up because we don't want to look weak to our loved ones. But that's not the case, you guys. If anybody's out there listening, or somebody that may be on the fence, or headed in that direction.
If you're worried about someone,
you can reach out to us. We'd gladly like to talk to you. You can find all our details on the contact page, whether it's by email, whether it's by WhatsApp, a phone call. Reach out. I mean, beyond business hours too. We can't preach this message if we're not there to help, and it would just mean so much if we could just help even just one person feel better, at least for one day, or for them.
What's the best way people get in touch?
So
via the
you
website?
Can email me directly at robbie@pureorganiccbd.com.
And then there's Dr. Margo at pureorganiccbd.com, because people send me confidential inquiries about their health, and then I can refer them to either my own clinics as well as CBD. But I do offer a confidential service for people with any problems at all.
And Margo's been great. I mean, we on our side, on the business side, we can't see any of her emails. It's totally anonymous. It's just between you and a doctor. She's been getting referrals from other people. And it's not only about CBD, you guys. Some people sometimes ask, can I take CBD? And the answer could be no, because of certain medication, or it's just too complicated. But that's why Margo's here. Margo's here to help people understand what it is, how it can affect them on a personal level. It's not just one big paint stroke and this is it, or that's not. It's really detailed, and Margo's been great. But because Dr. Margo's been doing mindfulness, total health makeovers, and that comes from within the mind and the body.
Yeah.
She's so knowledgeable on all this stuff, and some of the emails that she gets from some potential clients have been amazing, and it's really cool to see
it's
them come
helping
in and
people,
help.
Robbie, which is what's great. It's really great, and it's all about holistic healing. CBD is a holistic thing, which is why I got in touch with you guys in the first place, because I was looking for a product that I could tell people about, as well as my Qigong, healing and exercise. And Qigong is a fantastic way to center your body, and I would really like to start doing some classes around here. So if anybody's interested, get in touch with me.
Okay. Thank you very much. In summary, can we have the contact details one more time?
Sure. To contact us, it's Robbie@pureorganiccbd.com, or you can visit our website at www.pureorganiccbd.com. You can email Dr. Margo directly and anonymously at drmargo@pureorganiccbd.com.
And I've also got my website, which is drmargolivingston.com, and the doctor is spelled DR, and then Margo is Margo. There's no T in it.
That's what I was going to ask you. There's no T.
And there's
in
no
Margo.
E in Livingston either.
Oh, that Margo Robbie.
You can get me at info@drmargolivingston.com as well.
Perfect.
To arrange clinic appointments, but either email address is fine. And the other thing, I just if anybody's got any ideas of things that you would like me to discuss further or to talk more about, I'm more than happy to accept ideas. And I also wanted to reiterate, I'm a doctor of immunology. I have a BSc in immunology, and I'm also an advanced nurse practitioner, so it's called an ANP in the UK, and that gives me the right, or the knowledge to assess, diagnose illnesses, to look at people's prescriptions, to examine them, to decide if they need specialist referrals. So I'm not a medical doctor. I just want everybody to know that, but I'm more than happy to help, and it's a really growing field in the UK. ANPs are employed in all the GP surgeries as the front line, because the doctors just can't handle all the patients. This is in normal times when you can see a doctor, and that's actually why Helena, my business partner, and I set up our clinics, because we felt that lots of expats over here just couldn't get to see a doctor, and when they do, they might not understand what's going on. Right. So we're just kind of a transition service trying to meet the gap.
Okay, right. Thanks ever so much for coming in, guys. We're out of time.
Thank you, Dougie.
Pretty much. And just in case you want to listen again, this interview will be available to listen again.
Thanks, Dougie. Thanks, Robbie. Thanks a lot.